Hi, Randy, K7AGE. I got the antenna tuner installed in the previous video. Now it's time for the amplifier. So just to review quickly, this is the KM3KM Mercury IIIs 1200 watt solid state amplifier using one transistor. And as I mentioned in the other video, to get these, you go onto their website and you sign up. So I have the dates here just to give you an idea how long I've been waiting for here. So February 20th, 2022, over a year ago, this is March 23, I filled in the form. I received an email the next day, the 21st, saying I was on the list. In January 2nd of 2023, like 10 months later or so, I received a notice to pay my $1,200 deposit. And then they start manufacturing. I got a notice on February 14th that the amplifier was shipped, and it actually arrived on March 1st of 2023. It shipped from Florida, and of course, I don't know if you've been looking at the weather, but we've had a lot of bad weather across the United States here during that time period, so it could have taken a little bit longer. So I've made a couple changes here since the tuner video. One thing is that I've added a little box up here that I had for quite some time, haven't been using. It was in the basement in the junk. So that allows me to turn the power on and off to the tuner. Now what's kind of annoying, even though I have no beep selected for the tuner, you can see it's on now. Turn it off. Fan turns off. Turn it back on, it boots. And it sends me an R. I think that's pretty annoying. If the door is open to the ham shack, you can hear it all around the house. We'll see if the amplifier does the same thing. The other thing I've added is a CW key going into my 7610, so I can use that to send out a carrier here for the to test the amplifier. So let's take a quick look through the manual, talk about some of the features of the amp, and we'll take a look at the transistor, and then we'll go on to the unboxing. Okay, let's have a quick look at the manual. The amplifier, the 3S, is from 160 through 6 meters. Automatic band decoding, it just senses that when you key up the radio. 7-inch touchscreen, forward reflective and SWR meter. It shows device voltage and device current on the display. Lots of protection. 3 antennas with memory. 1200 watts sideband CW, 700 watts digital mode. Weight is 28 pounds. The LMOS device is a laterally diffused metal oxide semiconductor transistor used in microwave and RF power amplifiers. BLF 189XRA from Amplifier. They talk about some of the tests for the ruggedness of the amplifier. They run it through various standing wave ratios from 55 to 1 up to a maximum of 125 to 1. With normal situation, 50 volts, 1200 watts into a 50 ohm load. Amp is operating at full power. And then they talk about down here at the bottom, some more tests. They basically run the amplifier into an open load, hit the reset, run it at 1200 watts, short the output, run it, shuts down, hit the reset. So I won't be performing these open and shorted tests here. Oh, it can run on 120 or 240. It's preferred to run on 240. Monitors itself, lots of protections. We'll see that here. Here they talk about low harmonic content below 43 dBc on HF, below 65 dBc on VHF, which is 6 meters. And down here, the intermodulation distortion is better than 30 dB below the rated PEP output. Quick start, auto sensing. We recommend running the amp at 240. And it says connect the output to a 50 ohm load or a corresponding antenna. Connect the RF in, connect the push to talk. Do not connect the ALC at this point. Set the transceiver to minimum power, gradually increase power by SSB modulation while checking for output. Power less than 35 watts for RIDI, CW, AM, FM, and data modes. Here's what the screen will tell us. Forward power, reflected power, the drain current, drain voltage, temperature, some errors, if it's on air, which antenna and what band. And it will automatically sense what band you're on. The display setting is pretty similar to the tuner. Rear panel, 3 antenna outputs, RF input, ALC, push to talk, power. You have to supply your own power cord. Tell us how to adjust the ALC. I'm not going to run that. Cooling. It says there the temperature is constantly monitored and shows on the display. If the temperature is less than 50 degrees C, the cooling fans will run continuously at 30% of their speed. When the temperature is above 50 degrees C, the fans automatically accelerate to 100% and return to 30% when the temperature is less than 45 degrees C. Maximum fan speed is recommended for contesting. If the temperature does go greater than 65 degrees, the system cools down. You get this warning here until the recovery is less than 55 degrees. Here's all the protections. Error with reflected power. If the reflected power is more than 125 watts, it'll go offline. Low pass filter is selected in the band. It will go offline and hit reset to come back. If the power is greater than 700 watts for more than 8 seconds, the transmitter will stop. Press the reset. If the amplifier goes beyond 1400 watts, it goes offline, reset. Error, high current, the transmitter will stop transmitting if the drain current is greater than 41 degrees or the reference or the reverse power is high. It goes offline, press reset. If the voltage goes above 55, it goes offline. If it goes above 65 degrees, the system goes into cooldown. So there's a lot of protection. Here's the antenna switching. I'm not going to use any of this. I'm going to just leave all bands for antenna 1. And basically, it's a 1-year warranty. When you're out of warranty, they will basically not charge for labor, so labor is free to replace the LMOS device or any other repairs. So if it's out of warranty, it's just the cost of the parts, and this also applies to secondhand Mercury IIIs amplifiers. There's a few used 3Ss becoming available as guys get their Luxes. This is the homepage for Amplion. I don't know how to pronounce that. When I do a search for the device that's in the amplifier, it says basically that one is not available anymore. And this ART1K6FH is the current day replacement. So this talks about it can be used up to 1600 watts for 1 megahertz up to 425 megahertz. I wonder what these things cost. Here is DigiKey. It's $209. It seems like a lot for one transistor, but gee, 1600 watts. But if I look at the price of the 3-500 tubes, they're in my AL82, but they're $300 a piece. And oh, by the way, there's 2 of those inside the amplifier. $210 for a transistor? Sounds like a deal. This is how I'm going to wire everything up. And this is different from what I talked about in the antenna tuner video. Since the antenna tuner does not have automatic antenna switching, I decided to revert back to using my old manual Ameritron switch, which has 5 outputs. So we basically will come out of the 7610, go into the amp, come out of the amp, go into the tuner, come out on antenna 1. We'll use antenna 1 all the time for both the amp and the tuner. I have a LP100 watt meter, so go in and out of that and go to my switch. And on the output of my switch is my beam and my future dipoles, and I have a dummy load connected up here. The push-to-talk out of the radio goes into the tuner. Comes out of the tuner and uses to key the amp. So while the tuner is tuning, it opens up this path. So the amp will never be active while the tuner is tuning. When the tuner is happy, then the push-to-talk will continue through to the amplifier. Then we make lots of watts. All right, so let's unbox this. It's the inner box is held in place with the styrofoam blocks. So that's empty. We have a RCA to RCA cable. It says caution when opening with sharp objects. Failure to do so may result in damage to the contents. So I'll keep the blade fairly thin here. Here we have an FAQ sheet. See, the amplifier has styrofoam pieces around it here. There's the amplifier. There we go. And there it is. And here's the rear of the amplifier. AC goes in here, power switch, ground lug, fan, antennas 1, 2, and 3 output. I'm only going to use antenna 1, ALC with an adjustment. I'm not going to use push to talk, RF input. It says maximum 80 watts. Big heat sink here. This is heavy towards the rear of the amp. Okay, I got the amplifier turned around, the tuner pulled out. So this is the input to the tuner, so I'm going to take that off of here. Another coax goes into antenna 1, output of the amp. And it goes to the input to the tuner. I have the nice RCA cable that they provided. So that's going to go in the push to talk on the tuner and on the amplifier. Here's the 220, the AC input. Goes in there. Down in here is the master power switch. Turn it on, nothing happens. Check, make sure everything's tight. And push things back. And now for the moment of truth. Turn it on. Boots. Fan starts up high, drops down, and I get another beep. Good grief. All right, let's see it make some power. I have the 7610 set up for CW mode on all the bands and at 10% or 10 watts of power. CW, I have my key here that when I visited Beijing, some of the local hams gave me. And I just bumped that and it did jump over to 80 meters. So I'm going to put the tuner into bypass since we're going into a dummy load. And key up the radio. Let's take it out of operate here for a second. Okay, you can see I'm getting just a few watts over here. Go back into operate. There goes the amp. 750 watts out with 10 in, or 10%, near 10. Let's run it up to 25. There I am at 1067, so I'm at the 1200 watt limit at 25% power. May go up to 30%, 1150, and go up to 40, 1200. So yeah, it makes 1200. So looks like about 25% here gets me right at well, there's 1100. 30%, just under 1200 watts. 40 meters at 30%. Watch it jump here. Hopefully it'll switch. There, it picked up the filter. 1176 out. 10 megs. 30 meters, yep. 1100 right there. Let's go to 20 meters. And a filter selected, stayed on the filter. SWR is not great on that that dummy load, getting a little over 25 watts out. Let's see if what happens when I go into tune here. See, the amplifier did not key up, it tuned. And it's still about 1.3. Let's go to 15 meters. The tuner tuned. Okay, it picked a filter. 950 watts there, so a little bit less. Let me run it up to 40%. There I am, 1212 watts. 10 meters. Press it the first time, the radio will fire the tuner. There it tuned. I'm getting 972 here, 10 meters. Let's run it up here, try 50%. And there's my 1200 watts, good. 6 meters. I'm going to turn this, okay, it's at 10%. Here it tuned. So with 10% or 10 watts, I'm getting 171 out. Take it up to 25. Now the amplifier maxes out, I think, at 800 watts on 6. Here's 400. And you go up to 35. It's 560. 40. 620. And 6 meters, the maximum it puts out is 800. So there's, with 40 in, 600 out, take it up to, let's take it up to 60. Okay, there I am, 750 watts. Go up to 70, 770. So it looks like it's saturating out. And it's like that. Anything in setup here? Oh, antenna configuration. I'm leaving it all 1. Setup. Display. Beep is off. The brightness, so it's not all the way up. Sleep timer. You can have it set here so after 15 minutes it turns the amp off. What else? Setup. I can put my call sign in, don't need to do that. Features, here it's telling you total consumption. So it's giving the limits and the drives here, so you have those handy. And exit. Well, I think that wraps it up for this. I got the amplifier installed. Oh, I forgot to do one thing. Pull off the screen condom. Yeah, it looks like it's gonna work well. Next thing I need to do is get on the air and make some contacts with it. You can see it's just about the exact same height as the 7610. Everything now has nice color displays, so it's pretty fancy looking. So the fan is running here. It's not real loud. It's a lower frequency, I would say, so it's not too annoying. Does it turn off if I do that? No, we'll see. Anyway, I think that's it for now. So thanks for watching. This is Randy, K7AGE. You can follow me on Twitter at K7AGE, and please hit the like and subscribe button. So 73. CQDX, CQDX.